Hello again, average moviegoers. Psycho Killer has hit theaters, and let's talk about whether this movie is a sharp new slasher or just another dull blade. Psycho Killer is a new serial killer slasher film from director Gavin Polone in his feature film debut, but as you might know from the marketing of this film, it was written by Andrew Kevin Walker, most known for writing Seven. It also has producers attached from Barbarian and Weapons. My skepticism was raised when I saw all the posters and materials emphasizing the writer and producers, because sometimes that means the movie is shit and they're grasping at straws for any reason to get asses in seats. Well, unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed. I wouldn't say the movie is shit because that's not kind or true, but it's definitely a step below what I would call a good movie. First of all, I was not scared. I was not thrilled. I didn't squirm. I didn't jump out of my seat. As a genre movie, it did not do to me the things that genre is supposed to do. The most surprising thing about the movie was how little tension I felt and how much suspense it lacked. I think a big part of that has to do with the fact that there's not anything particularly inventive or fresh in this movie. It does end up feeling generic and cliched. Even the title, Psycho Killer, is about as general and toothless as you can get. That's not to say that everything in this movie is subpar. It's just that overall, the highs and lows average out to tip the scales toward the lows. I will praise a few sequences in this movie. There's a long tracking shot that is slow-mo, hyper-violent, well choreographed, and absolutely the best scene in the movie. I also think that introducing us to the killer and him being a character from scene 1 was interesting. It flies in the face of what happens in most serial killer movies, where we don't even know who they are until after Act 2. Accompanying him on his kills was a fresh approach that I was excited about, although personally I felt it wasn't executed to its potential. And to be comprehensive about what I liked, there is another kill that takes place in a church that I wish the other kills were more like, because it was kind of gross and unique. Another aspect of this film that prevented it from greatness is the dialogue. It's very stiff and unnatural. Most of the characters seem like characters reading lines, and this makes it very difficult to emotionally connect with anyone in the film. I take issue with some of the ways the protagonist was handled in the story. She's a highway patrol officer from Kansas and is never held to enough accountability. Everything she's doing is completely outside her jurisdiction, so it's highly illegal, and the movie never adequately addresses it. It could have been an interesting dynamic of the story if she became a vigilante in order to stop him, but the movie just sidesteps it until it throws in some half-hearted dialogue about how she should go home and stay in her lane, in what feels like an effort to preemptively defend itself against that criticism. This movie is skin deep. There's nothing below its genre thrills. It doesn't need to be layered with meaning. I'm asking for basic things like emotional connection, empathy for our protagonist, and some development of her character. The fundamental things that don't need to be earth-shattering, they just need to be present, or else many will leave with the same feeling I had of, okay, why do I care? That's probably why, as the stakes escalate toward the end, something still feels off, maybe fake, about the drama and tension. The kills, the sound effects, the music, it was following the formula of horror films so closely at moments that for the first 30 minutes, I thought that I might be watching a parody, but it's so serious. I mean, the voice modulator on the slasher, even when his mask was off, come on, just some things made it come across as a music video more than a film. Then after all that, it goes out with the whimper. The ending tried to be somewhat ambiguous and mysterious and potentially leave sequels on the table, maybe, but it didn't satisfy anything, and leaving it open felt forced. Finally, the acting in this movie is not very good. There's a character our protagonist meets that lets her in on some details of the killer and shows her around some crime scenes, and she was... I hate to label her performance as bad, but it truly is nowhere near the level of professionalism that I would expect from a movie released by a studio. There are countless wonderful actors waiting for their shot, and I simply don't understand how we're giving roles to people who are dry and robotic and don't bring any subtext to the material. I mean, what are we doing? If you've made it to the end of the review, I want to thank you for sticking it out. I don't enjoy talking about movies that I don't enjoy. I want to like what I see. I don't take any pleasure in pointing out the flaws of a film, but I do think that you can save your $15 and spend it on something you're more sure about liking. I think some people would like this movie, and I don't deprive anyone of that. I'll never discourage anyone from seeing movies in theaters and deciding for themselves. With that said, let me know what you thought of it. If you're planning on seeing it, be respectful, be courteous, back up your opinions, but remember that art is subjective, and above all else, keep watching movies and stay average.